us in our
Stop. Oh, sorry.
comic
Sorry.
book.
Go ahead.
Well, now I have to get in character again. It's
Yeah.
a whole
All right.
Daniel Day-Lewis-esque routine that I have to go through
Oh,
to get
boy.
there. All right. You ready?
Mm-hmm.
Thanks for joining us in our comic book coffee break. I'm Nick Gunning.
I'm Eric Pickles, known online as Dusk vs. Tweak.
Eric, today I'm drinking Cameron's Donut Shop coffee, black on ice, because it's a scorcher.
Where's
It's a hot one out there.
Where's Cameron's Donut Shop? What is that?
I don't know. Cameron's is the brand name, and Donut Shop is the kind. It's supposed to taste like.
Oh,
you know,
okay. So it's
like
not an
diner
actual
coffee.
donut shop. You bend in and like, I'll take some of that coffee, please.
No. Our donut shop still a thing? I don't know.
Why
I'm
would
not
you?
sure.
Like, people don't like ice in their soda because it waters it down. Why would you want
Yeah.
ice in your coffee?
Well, you make the coffee a little strong. Like you make it
Oh.
extra strong, so like the more the ice melts, the better. My wife she's the coffee
She's
connoisseur,
the coffee connoisseur, yeah.
and she actually has she made iced coffee. She filled an ice cube tray, put that in the freezer, and then she uses ice cubes
and
made
then
of
it's
coffee.
that's clever.
Mine
Right.
is actually Superman shield shaped regular old ice.
Right, but it's yeah. So it kind of looks like the his crystals
Yeah,
in his
exactly.
Fortress of Solitude in
Yep.
your coffee.
Boop, 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 boop.
I've got a mug of Sunny D.
Yep. Wait, did you say purple stuff?
I said Sunny D.
OJ?
Sunny D.
Sunny D. Cool. Do you remember when California Style showed up, and it was like a real game changer in the
I
Sunny
think so,
D
yeah.
setup? Yeah.
I'm drinking this mug. Speaking of your
hit me.
wife,
What do
this
you
was
got?
a birthday gift she gave me.
Really?
I think maybe this was last year or 2 years ago.
Okay.
It's old comic book style, old like 50s comic book style. Says they were shocked by what they saw, yet they could not look away. And then the woman is yelling, "I can't believe it! He's turned into a," and they both yell, "Old person!"
Yeah.
So
Yes. I'm pretty sure that was for your 30th.
that was not for my 30th.
I think so.
Oh gosh.
I think so. Yeah. Over
What?
the hill.
What
This guy.
unkind. No, it's funny. I remember she laughed at it.
My mug is from my honeymoon. Actually, it's a Beatles Yellow Submarine mug, and on the inside it said, "Love is all you need."
Aw. So you,
I got this,
you
and-
honeymooned on the Yellow Submarine?
We did, yeah. Yeah, the
cruise?
accommodations were tight,
Yeah.
and it was basically just an acid trip the
Yeah,
whole time.
that's what I
didn't
figured,
know.
yeah.
I didn't know if it was out of control.
We're watching through the old Simpsons, and there was the one where Lisa gets put under for to get her braces on, and
Yeah.
she like dreams of the Yellow Submarine situation, like look out for the portraits of the Queen, and they hit it like,
Yep.
oh Lord, we're going down. It's very funny.
Sounds good to me.
All right, this show is brought to you by Radio Meanwhile Network. You can find more about this show and others like it at the network's website, radiomeanwhile.com.
Other shows on the network include Three Nice Things, where we force ourselves to say 3 nice things about a movie with a bad and often earned reputation. And for my money, the reputation's always been earned on that show.
Wait
You haven't
until,
done a movie that I've thought, now that's unfair.
yeah. Maybe
They've
you'll
all
change your
been.
mind when we watch Pluto Nash.
Oh, I'm on that one, right?
Yeah.
You got me.
Of course,
booked.
I booked
Okay.
you for Pluto
Yeah,
Nash.
yeah, party all night.
Yeah.
Okay.
I've never seen it.
No, I haven't either. Radio 64, featuring video game music remix radio. 9021 Here We Go, a 90210 rewatch podcast hosted by a 9021 expert and a 9021 novice. And finally, previously on X-Men, where we look back on X-Men comics, movies, shows, characters, and more.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes more.
Sometimes more.
Let's talk comic books, my man. How are
Woo!
you this week?
Good. I wanted
Okay.
to have read more. We're actually recording this a day early, so I
Yeah.
feel like
Day early, $1 short.
I
as
might
they
have
say.
read at least 2 more comic books to talk
That's
about.
on my fault. You know,
That's
tomorrow's my aunt's 80th birthday.
Wow.
So there's a big party, so much going on. So
Okay.
yep.
Yeah.
That's on me. That's on me, everyone.
Yeah. You should have
Really,
stopped
it's on Aunt Nancy. If you want
Yeah.
to blame anyone,
Yeah.
it's Nancy's fault.
I'm sorry.
That's all right. Well, how about I go first then? I read some stuff.
Okay.
I think right away we have to get to last week's quarter bin. As you recall,
Fantastic Four
really,
179.
really threw me for a loop.
Yeah.
A
Changed
lot of
your
stuff
life.
going on. I've heard from multiple people that Logie is not a known term.
Yeah, I didn't know it. I really thought anti-Reed was called Logie Reed.
No.
So,
I explained to my wife, it's like if you have a typewriter
Uh-huh.
that's just used for a prop on a stage, it's a Logie typewriter. So I just thought,
no.
Anyway, I was mesmerized by everything that was going on there. As you'll recall,
Yes.
3 women were into the thing.
Uh-huh.
Logie
Everybody,
Reed and
yeah.
everybody. Logie Reed and Sue,
Got together.
maybe taking things
Oh
to the
yeah.
next
Oh
level.
yeah.
Reed interrupted digesting a space bat, attacked by a nihilist.
Mm-hmm.
And just things were just going bananas. Things were going bananas, and I'd never read before or after. So I tracked it down.
Mm-hmm.
It is collected in Marvel Masterworks Fantastic Four Volume 17, primarily by Roy Thomas. But we go through a writer change at a real pivotal moment. And so the trajectory, I feel like, kind of gets lost because you got a new writer coming in to sort of back clean up there.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, and Logie Reed is gone and everything's fine now. So it was real anticlimactic, but
Sure.
the lead up was worth it. And I am glad to just see how everything came together. So not as exciting as 179 led me to believe. In hindsight, I probably would have been better off just sticking with 179 and just letting my brain fill out the imagination. But it's I've only read just scattered Fantastic Four. Like, and I have some Englehart Fantastic Four issues that I've read a bunch.
Mm-hmm.
So I've not read a ton of early Fantastic Four, and especially the early part of the collection made me think, maybe when I finish my Captain America read through, I might go back and pick up some Fantastic Four because I did like it.
Yeah.
I did like what I was seeing, but ultimately I felt like the new writers coming in just felt like we got to deal with the dangling threads here. So, it was a whole thing where I'm going to spoil it. Do you want to put up the spoiler?
Yeah, I can put up the spoiler tags.
Thank you for
Spoilers
1970s.
Yeah.
Fantastic
Spoiler.
Four. Basically, this alternate Reed we learn was a good guy, but then got hit on the head and was a bad guy again.
Sure.
But there's some stuff with Franklin Richards has been taken by this woman, and Logie Reed is not really responding to that. But ultimately, he gets hit on the head again, I think, or whatever. His head injury clears up, and he realizes no, I'm good, Reed, and he goes into the negative zone, takes care of the problem, sacrificing himself, and the Fantastic Four is on their way. I think Ben stays with Alicia, but Thundra and Tigra were all about him. So we'll see what happens there. But yeah, I think I was better off just with 179.
Oh, that's too bad.
What'd you get to this week?
I was gonna say something about Len Wein. When is he the one that takes over?
No, I saw that on Goodreads that he was listed there, and I didn't notice his name in there. So I'm not sure where that's coming from.
All right. I guess that's it. Yeah, I haven't read any of this era of Fantastic Four.
Yeah.
So, I got nothing.
Okay.
Let's see. I read Usagi Yojimbo. Which volume number was this? It's Usagi Yojimbo, A Town Called Hell.
Okay.
Volume 27.
27.
Town Called Hell by Stan Sakai.
Wow. That's a lot of volumes. Not for nothing. That's a long series about a samurai rabbit.
Actually, so I was saying it goes up to volume 33, and I was kind of worried that Usagi's done. Usagi moved. It was Dark Horse for so long now. It used to be Fanta Comics. Am I saying that right? Fantagraphics?
Sure. I don't know. I've never seen it.
For its first 5 or 6 volumes. But it's been Dark Horse forever. He's left Dark Horse. He's joined not Dynamite. What's the other place called?
Boom?
I think it is Boom.
Okay.
Usagi
Boom
leaves Dark Horse. But this isn't the only property. IDW.
Oh, okay.
Usagi left for IDW.
Yeah. IDW's been scooping up a lot of things. We talked a few weeks ago for the quarter bin about them picking up the G.I. Joe series.
Right.
Picking up Marvel's numbering even. So I guess IDW's the place to go. They have Star Trek.
IDW does Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles right now.
Yeah.
Which and Stan Sakai and the people of the original Turtles comics, I think have been kind of friends for a while.
Okay.
But lots of stuff. They don't have the Star Wars license anymore.
Right.
Dark Horse also lost.
They're
Buffy
doing right by Star Trek. Let me tell you, IDW's doing a good job there.
Well, they lost Firefly and Buffy the Vampire Slayer to Boom, and Conan went back to Marvel. I guess they're just bleeding properties right now.
Wow.
Which is sad. I hope they don't go anywhere. But Usagi's been with them for a long time.
Staple there, hasn't it? Yeah.
So, and I don't know if that means IDW.
How is it? How is Usagi able to maintain its interest after so many volumes? Like, what is it for you that keeps you coming back to this series?
I mean, I think it's definitely one that I think is easy to pick up.
Okay.
There's continuity, but like there's a lot of just standalone issues where you just pick it up and Usagi's just having like a meeting with some people, or he's just learning a new technique, or he's at one issue in this he stops at a place and the person's like, oh, you can stay the night here, and then turns out to be like a demon head that wants to suck his blood. But it's just quality. It's just Stan Sakai has never dipped in quality. There's no like bad stories. His art is consistent. It's the same style from day one. The black and white art doesn't really like age or anything.
Yeah.
It's just like a very solid read every time. There's never been like a moment where you could be like, oh, Usagi Yojimbo kind of sucks right now though. I think it's just good, and it is intimidating because, like I said, 27 volumes. Is where I'm at to 33 out there. Plus, it started over a new one. It's not cheap or easy to find everything. But yeah, I think it's just quality. And who knows what with the Netflix one, maybe if that will pick up or not.
That's true. How serialized is it? Like, is it something where if you're in your local comic shop or your local library and they have volume 17, like, could you just pick that up and read it most of the time?
I think what would happen is you'd want to go back.
Okay.
But I think you're fine reading it.
Okay.
Even the stuff that's continuity based isn't super continuity. You can pick up on it pretty quickly. I mean, it's just reoccurring characters and stuff.
Yeah.
Volume 27. This doesn't tell me what was inside it, but yeah, it's just a whole bunch of different like side stories going on in this one. But the main one is it's kind of a Yojimbo retelling, in that Usagi goes to a town where there's two warring gangs fighting over control of this town, and he tries to like smooth it out, and then he gets tricked, and so a person is coming after him. It's like two stories. Like the story starts with the town called Hell, and then it ends with Return to Hell. So there's some action in here. This the gang leader that thinks he's getting away with everything does not. But yeah, there's cool characters. Usagi meets somebody who's just as tough as him, but Usagi's ability to stop violence is just as important as his ability to end it.
Okay.
So yeah, volume 27 was a good read.
Hell.
A town called Hell. And so this volume I read, volume 27, it contains issues 124 to 131. So, good stuff.
Okay.
And so that's one of the things I read. What else did you read?
Well, elsewhere in Marvel, as you remember,
Elsewhere is DC. Can you please leave?
Yes, you're right.
No, wait, come back.
Oh, okay.
So what if Marvel?
I was really focusing in on remember 2010 Marvel. That's kind of where I picked it up with my Red Hulk reading and all that.
Yes.
So I keep getting sidetracked from that, like reading other things.
Sure.
So I read one a little bit back on track here, and I read the first volume of Avenging Spider-Man. My Friends Can Beat Up Your Friends. That's by Zeb Wells, illustrated by Joe Madura.
Yeah. So
yeah.
That artist, he's been a big name. He was a huge name in the 90s for X-Men. He kind of brought over and standardized the like manga inspired art styling that like everybody was trying to copy in some kind of way. If you read his issues of Uncanny X-Men, there's manga influence all over. And then when you start reading other comics around that era, you can see them like trying to emulate that. And he also created the he worked on the oh no, I can't remember the game. He worked on a video game. I'll remember.
I'm not going to be able to help you there.
No, okay, it's fine.
All right,
I'll remember.
Well, this was so. I mean, it starts with the Spider-Man Red Hulk team up, so it was like, no brainer that I had to read it because Red Hulk was like my window into getting back into this. But it starts with a big mole man story, and I just wasn't really about it. I just didn't really get into that. You're right about the art. The art it's unique and it's eye-catching and it's just stylish throughout. So that kind of kicks it up a star in my book.
Yeah, the cover art is nice.
Yeah, it is. I guess where I was disappointed is, and I mean, I think I should have figured this out from the subtitle here. My friends can beat up your friends.
Mm-hmm.
It's a team up book,
Sure.
so it's kind of each issue has a different
Yeah,
team
on the
up.
cover is Red Hulk, Wolverine, and Spider-Woman.
Yeah.
So this is a Spider-Man book teaming up with other people.
Yes.
And you read it for the Red Hulk material?
Well, I just read it because I was reading. Yeah, I've been reading everything with that era, and all of those people, Spider-Man, Wolverine, and Red Hulk particularly, are like key players in the other stuff I've been reading. So, yeah, just kind of staying concurrent with the other stuff I had going on. So I did like it, and I'm planning on sticking with it. But I was a little disappointed that it wasn't more of a ongoing story. The problem is, I've read Spider-Man like all the way up through Worldwide and like into the Nick Spencer era. So like there's not really a good main Spider-Man title for me to be reading right now concurrent with this. So I was kind of hoping this would be that, and it wasn't. But, you know, it was a good time, and it's worth sticking around for.
The game that he worked on was Darksiders.
I don't think I even know that game.
It's kind of it's a whole bunch of game styles in one. I guess there's some God of War in it. There's a bit of Legend of Zelda in there. There's some Portal levels. The first game was fun, a bit long. So, but yeah, they just had some new games recently as well. So, but yeah, he's involved with that. So he's continued on.
Nice.
Yeah, I like his art. A lot of his like X-Men issues were some of the first like back issues I was picking up.
Oh, so okay.
I'm kind of like his style a bit. And yeah, when you look at that cover, it's just like big, bold, colorful art, extreme action, like very kinetic. Yeah. So let's see, what else did I read besides Usagi Yojimbo? Well, since I'm talking X-Men right now, I read Storm.
Oh.
By Eric Jerome Dickey. Are you familiar with this author?
Sure. Yeah.
Who is he?
Yeah. Well, I mean, he's a major bestseller.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Well, so this is. I mean, it's officially.
He's a novelist. He's not known as a comic book author.
This is officially Astonishing X-Men Storm because it came out in like 2006.
Oh. Okay.
So this is the miniseries that was responsible for explaining the retcon on the love story between Storm and Black Panther.
Okay.
Because they got married, if you remember. And
I do.
So the basis of Storm and Black Panther's relationship stems from a Marvel team-up 100, I believe, which is also, I think, the first appearance of Karma, the New Mutants. But it's
Karma Chameleon?
No. Marvel Team Up 100 from... Yeah. So...
they come and go.
I read that first. Or I read that after, but I read that first thing. And it's basically like Black Panther's in a fight, Storm... but as a kid, like he's off on a walkabout, and he's in trouble, so Storm is flying overhead and it's like, I'll help. And then they like travel together. And then they meet up again later in life when they're superheroes, and like, hey, how's it been? Let's do this superhero stuff.
Sparks fly.
Well, they do their superhero stuff, and the last panels have them doing like, now that I'm with you at this time, it makes me wonder. She's like, I feel it too, and then the caption is like, they leave thinking what could have been, but they know that it can never be, and so it never will be, and they walk away. And that's kind of Chris Claremont being like, these two aren't going to be a couple. And then cut to 2006 Marvel, where they're like, we have two prominent black characters who aren't married. And I think at the time, that was kind of the consensus, that people were like seeing this as kind of, I don't know, poorly handled marketing thing. I think Time has been better on that because, for one, Eric Jerome Dickey's book here isn't bad. It's like a good read. And Marvel continuity is so... Continuity in general, it's this like, it has its pros and cons in that, like, yeah, I like all the continuity and things mattering in the long run, but at the same time, when you're not ever leading to an ending, it starts to become a hindrance because there's only so many stories you can tell. Right. So, yeah, Black Panther and Storm never had a relationship, but now they want to tell a story where Storm and Black Panther have had a relationship. And so they didn't for like 30 plus years. But, I mean, how many people picking up comics in 2006 have read 1972's Marvel Team Up? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's just this strange... We latch on to continuity, but it also kind of keeps us from telling new things and just telling the same stories over and over again. So I don't know. I go back and forth with that kind of stuff. So my big problem with this is that the switch is that Storm, a young Storm, is in trouble, and Black Panther on his walkabout saves her. Okay. And I feel like that's kind of BS. Like a BS switch from the... Because, like, there you have, like, a non-powered T'Challa just out on his walkabout being outnumbered, and Storm's like, well, I have storm power, so I'll save you. And here in this one, same power level, just roles are reversed. And I'm just kind of like, come on, Eric Jerome.
That's lame.
Storm doesn't... A lot of this about Storm is kind of centered on her, like, being in love, and can she love somebody like T'Challa? And, like... She's trying to find out if this makes her feel like a woman or not, and it's just there is some attempts to challenge the gender roles and everything, but I don't know, it's not great. But as a story, like explaining these two characters having a past and everything, it does the job, and it's not bad or anything. I don't think it's like even offensively bad compared to like knowing what like the characters were. Like, it didn't offend me in my continuity thing. So I think it's just, I mean, you just read Avengers versus X-Men where they just ended it. I read that issue. I read AVX 5 after this, because that's kind of the issue that it's really kind of gross to read, because in Avengers versus X-Men, the main story, Black Panther's like, you're no longer my wife. You can't be here anymore. We've declared war on mutants and everything.
Yeah.
But AVX has them like physically fighting and punching each other in the face. And I'm like, I know this is a superhero comic, but you're basically showing a separating couple physically fighting. And it just feels like, and she says like, it wasn't until now that I realized how bad of a husband you were. And he's like, you've always been cold. I'm like, who is this supposed to be for? It seems like character assassination for both of them. And it's like, so you're super heroizing domestic violence in this way. So like that Avengers versus X-Men, that AVX issue is pretty classless, I think. The fight between the two of them, like have them do their divorce and whatnot, whatever. But that other thing is just kind of like, that's bad.
I read that too, and I guess I wasn't thinking about it in those terms, because I thought it was kind of sad. I mean, I thought the story between the two of them was sad the way it, I in some ways I feel like they handled it well, in that it like really brought their relationship to a close. But I guess I wasn't thinking about it in terms of like, this is a couple beating on each other. You know, I think I was coming from the AVX sort of mindset that there was going to be superheroes fighting, and I wasn't thinking about it in those terms. But when you lay it out like that, it is kind of gross. That is an odd choice to make.
But so last time we talked about like the Storm like graphic where she's a kid as she's also, right. She's young in this as well. Storm. This, I think you could probably give somebody who is either interested in the Black Panther movie or just Storm. And anyone who's like interested in like, is Fox or is Marvel now going to like, now that they have the rights to X-Men, are they going to pursue like the Storm Black Panther love story? This is a pretty decent like collection, I think, because we were talking with Captain Marvel, Monica. What's her?
Yeah, Monica Rambeau.
How like there just isn't really a collection, so they just had to get a bunch of random stories.
Yeah.
So it's good they have this here. Yeah. I think the problem is, it just, for me as an X-Men fan, I don't care about Storm being the queen of Wakanda. It takes away from her like doing anything X-Men related, and I think it kind of takes away some of her agency with the X-Men.
Yeah, I can see that.
But maybe if you're like reading Black Panther comics, maybe having Storm in there is more interesting. So for me, during this time when she's off being married, when she's married to Black Panther, it's basically like, oh, Storm's not here anymore. I wasn't reading anything with Storm. Okay. So I was kind of bummed that she was gone.
I get everything that you're saying, and I think you're right. Reading it from, like you're saying, from the other perspective, like coming from Avengers or Black Panther, I don't mind them together. Like I think there's a world in which it works and kind of makes sense. Yeah. That it would work, because she's she's just always so powerful and so regal that it makes sense
Sure.
to pair her with Black Panther, like where they could really be,
Yeah,
equals to each other.
She's
Like,
queenly.
yeah, she is.
Yeah.
She is. So I do think that could work, but it just sounds like it hasn't been handled well.
Well, I mean, the problem is, yes, this story retcons it. I'm fine. Retcons are retcons that you take them or you don't. So, like, this retcons them having a stronger relationship and being... And this was, like, Storm's first love and everything. But the problem is then... If you read this in chronological order, you have how many years of just non-interaction, and then in 2006 they're like, "Hey, you know what?" So yeah, it continuity and retcons are strange. So it's one of those stories that just has to deal with that kind of thing. But if that stuff isn't important to you, then it's fine. Yeah, so that's the Storm thing I read. So next I'm on to her like 2000. I want to say 2015 series. It only lasted like 11 issues.
My wife loves that.
Oh, okay. I'll have to. It's like two
I haven't read those,
novels,
but she really liked those a lot.
All right. What else have you read?
Well, DC. I'm currently reading The Forever People by Jack Kirby, and I'm not far enough into it to really talk about it yet. So maybe next week I'll catch you up on that. I do want to say though, because back when we talked about the Jimmy Olsen debacle, where I had heard that they were redrawing Superman and Jimmy, and we did have one of our eagle-eyed listeners send us an article that really explained all that. So let's talk about that. We'll talk about that when I wrap up the Jimmy Olsen series. But I am happy to report that in Forever People, it's very clearly a Kirby Superman.
Okay.
So we'll talk a little bit more about the history of them redrawing Superman when I talk about Jimmy Olsen Volume 2 there. But outside of that, I read Detective Comics Volume 5, A Lonely Place of Living. Get it, Eric?
Yeah, I get it.
Do you get it?
I get it. So on the graphic novel cover, is that Batman and Darth Sidious?
I don't know.
The Emperor?
I can't see the cover. I read individual issues. I don't know what it looks like.
It's the cover of the graphic. Oh, okay. I don't know which cover it is. It's Batman on one side, and then on the other side, it's just this guy that looks like he's the Emperor from Return of the Jedi.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Well, so this story, Tim Drake has been pretty sidelined for most.
Sure has.
Yeah, the Rebirth
Tim Drake can take a hike, DC.
Yeah, in the first volume of this Detective Comics run, he's presumed killed, and we don't really get much until this issue where we learn a little bit more about what actually happened. And it's kind of a muddled issue. I was glad to have Tim Drake back, so I can't complain too much, but having Tim Drake as Red Robin again is cool, and a lot of good stuff with him in Spoiler in this, which I've been a fan of since way back in the Robin solo series that ran forever. It starts with some odd issues wrapping up a story with Anarchy, a villain that, like, no thanks. And
there's a big Anarchy more than ever the execution.
Yeah. There's a big Clayface story, because Clayface is kind of on the Batman team in this run, which worked pretty well early on. I'm getting a little sick of it now, a little sick of like the tragedy of Clayface, and that this was there a lot. But
I was an actor.
Pretty much. The bulk of the Tim Drake story deals with an alternate Tim Drake from the future coming back with a vendetta against Batwoman, claiming that she destroys everything. And it's just been done a million times, you know? Yeah. So I like a good time travel story. Sure, I wouldn't call this a good time travel story, but like I had a decent time with it. It was fine. It wasn't good. It wasn't bad. It was fine.
So who is that? That's Anarchy in the red. Who's the one in the blue?
Well, I can't see it, so I don't know.
Who's the one in like a blue, like all body suit, kind of like a bald cap, blue outfit? Got some yellow on there.
Jeez, I don't know.
All right.
I don't know. Fine. Is it like a bat related character? Or...
I mean, he's just on the cover. It looks like he's part of that team. Isn't this like Batman and the Outsiders?
Kind of.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, Batwing is in there. It could be.
No, it's not
Batwing. It could be
Batwing.
Batwing.
It's no bat symbol. It's fine.
Well, no,
sorry.
No, I'm so curious. All right. That's it for that one. You got what you want to talk about, or should I give you the last one here?
I also read.
Oh, you know what?
What?
Cassandra Cain.
Oh, that's Cassandra Cain's costume?
As Orphan. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. She's basically not in the issue. That's why it didn't pop into my mind.
All right.
That's just showing you the whole team. But yep, that's Orphan.
I read. So I'm reading through that Terminator Omnibus.
Yeah.
It's Terminator Omnibus Volume 1. It's got a whole bunch of things in it. I'm reading through it, but one of them I read in it was a one-shot. It's even called one-shot. Terminator one-shot is what it's called.
Is Linda Hamilton in it?
No.
Oh, okay.
It's
she's probably done.
This came out in 1991, July 1991.
Okay.
Gosh, when did the movie came out in 1991? So this is probably pretty darn close.
Right on the heels. Okay.
To the movie, to the second movie. Written by James Robinson. I didn't realize James Robinson has been doing it for so dang long.
I guess so.
Like I know his work for DC, I believe.
Yeah.
Like I think he was doing Suicide Squad, right?
That sounds right.
So he's just been doing this for forever. Anyway, the Terminator one shot is this 48. It was a trade paperback, but it's 48 pages. Let's see. Mark Wagner does the art, and that is important because Matt Wagner's art makes this almost like a Terminator noir, kind of like a pulpy Terminator story.
Mm-hmm.
The idea is that Skynet sent a couple of Terminators back in time to kill all the Sarah Connors, but it was all at the same time. So while the Arnold Schwarzenegger Terminator was doing what he did to find Sarah Connors, this Terminator went to the phone book and started just going through them, and because they're going after everyone named Sarah Connor.
Oh.
And so.
What if some are Sarah with an H and some are no H?
Well, so this Sarah Connor just became Sarah Connor because she just got married to a Connor, and so she got married, and now this Terminator's after that girl. There's also another character in here who was sent to like the 50s, and there's a lot of conversation about how he kind of gave up hope because in the Terminator future, he was just a soldier. But in the 50s, he's not a soldier. He's a black man in the 50s. And so he had to live through the civil rights, everything, after having been in this war where it was just everybody's a human or everybody's a machine. And so that kind of made him like give up on humanity. And then he got married. So there's a lot of like stuff going on with this guy who kind of becomes like the Kyle Reese of the story. Okay. He got sent back in time to like watch over everything. So he's older now, and so, but the thing that makes it kind of like a noir, like an old film noir, besides the art, is that it turns out this Sarah Connor, the one who just became a Connor, she married this guy who's an artist because he's rich, but he doesn't want to use his money because he thinks money kind of corrupts everything. He just wants to do everything for the art. So she and another guy planned it so she would marry this Connor man.
She's a grifter?
They're going to kill him.
Oh my gosh.
And so it becomes this whole story where this woman who almost killed her husband is now on the run with her husband and this other guy while this big bulky Terminator is after them. It all ends on this big boat fight and everything. A lot of people get what they deserve. I won't put up the spoilers because I won't spoil it because if you've read Terminator, you can kind of guess where things are going. But it is the comics really hammer home the Terminators are just this constant machine that's just never going to stop. It will never tire. It will never stop. That kind of spiel. So again, this is James Robinson, who I believe also did the other Terminator story I read.
Okay.
But yeah, James Robinson and everything. And you can.
I've read his he did the Earth 2 title as part of New 52. He's done a lot of JSA. I've read quite a bit of his stuff.
Yeah. So again, the collection I'm reading right now is from Terminator Omnibus, Volume 1. I believe there's a second Omnibus, but I could be wrong. Nope, there is a second Omnibus.
Okay.
So yeah, the art and everything, it was just a really like interesting read. I dug it. So I've been digging these, but I only read that like first 4-issue thing, and now this one shot. But it's
hey, you know what? I just was realizing the bulk of the James Robinson I read was during that whole New Krypton era of Superman, which I know you read too, because I just kept handing you the graphic novels as I finished them. So we both read a lot of James Robinson
The
then.
new Krypton. Yeah, the big Superman one with that ended
Yeah.
with like the 100-minute war or something.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, so he's been here for a lot longer. I thought he was kind of like
so.
a post 2000s writer, but no.
Yeah.
He's been writing Terminator comics.
I guess so.
So yeah, that was just a fun issue.
Sounds like it.
What else have you been reading?
Well, I picked up a new series called Naomi, which is part of the Wonder Comics imprint that DC Comics is doing. Them and their imprints, I can't even with them.
They've never seen an imprint they didn't love to cancel after 2 issues.
I know. Well, like the Gerard Way shepherded Young Animals lasted for a while. I think you got a couple volumes out of most of those series, but I don't think they ever really did big business. The only thing I ever read from that imprint was the first volume of Doom Patrol, and Doom Patrol is banana cakes anyway. So in that, I thought it was especially, it just didn't land for me. But Wonder Comics, you're not going to be a fan of, I don't think, because the mastermind behind that is Brian Michael Bendis.
Yes.
And boy, I really liked this. First of all, it's Naomi season 1. It's a 6-issue arc where this girl in a small town, Superman is fighting Mongol, and they touch down in this little like town in the middle of nowhere. And it starts this whole thing where people are talking about the last time there was like an alien incursion in this world. And Naomi starts to put some things together, realizing that maybe she's not from either not from this planet, or there's something about her past that is not quite right. And this Superman incursion is drawing a lot of parallels, and it's starting to kind of bring some things up. So it's a good 6-issue mystery, and you just don't know where it's going.
This is the one that you sent me with the page of just talking head panels.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So who's the artist? Because I did Walker. I recognize the art style a bit.
Jamal Campbell is the primary here, and the book is. It's some of the best comic book art I've seen in quite a while.
Okay.
It really tells the story well, adds a lot to it, and the story is good. It's unusual because you just don't know anything. You spend the majority of the time with just regular old people, or so you're led to believe, and this girl just trying to figure out the mystery of her past. So it's a different kind of story, but the art is great, and I think the payoff is really good, and I'm really interested to read more. And there supposedly is a season 2 going on. And the other Wonder Comics titles include the reboot of Young Justice, Dial H for Hero, and the Wonder Twins. And I know that Naomi as a character does pop up over on Young Justice, so I'm going to have to go and read that because I was really intrigued by it. But to your point, yes, they did do that Bendis did do that Talking Heads thing that he loves so much, where it's just a whole page of people being like, oh my gosh, did you see, it's just like blah, 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 blah. And when you start to get a little backstory filled in, it just becomes a prose novel. I mean, it is just relentless with the words. So that's a real
Bendis
strike.
is going to Bendis.
I know.
As long as he never, ever comes back to the X-Men world, I'm okay.
The thing about that is, I guess I always defend his writing a little more than you do. I mean, you're openly hostile towards him, which I understand. And
not his team books. It's just too many characters.
I agree.
And he's not interested anyway.
And they all talk the same. Right. That's the real problem.
Yes.
But the thing that really struck me about this, and in sort of a weakness in the writing, I think, is that I just read Bendis' Avengers that is 10 years old. And those scenes were exact. It was just no progression from 2010 Avengers to this.
Well, he did it in Uncanny X-Men as well when he was writing.
Okay.
You haven't read the Cyclops Revolution Team one.
No, I haven't.
But it's the same. He just has a whole bunch of new characters, and they're always doing that that panel discussion.
It's not good.
Yeah, he loves an interrogation.
So when those things happened, it really slows the story down. But I was impressed with the story overall and would recommend it. The last thing I read DC-wise, I talked a little bit about this last week, is Tiny Titans Meet Little Archie, and that's by Art Baltazar and Franco. So that duo has done just tons of things. Tiny Titans, of course, the Superman of Smallville story, Superman family, all sorts of things. They're a known duo.
Hey,
they did The Mask.
Who's the blonde guy, the blonde bully who's duh?
Moose is not a bully, but it's Moose. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Well, we were watching the old Simpsons episodes, And there's a scene where out of nowhere, Homer is just driven up in a car and then thrown onto his lawn, and it's the Archie gang. And Moose is like, duh, stay out of Riverdale. And then they all just drive away.
Nice.
So, and then later he's like reading an Archie comic. He's like, stupid Archie and his stupid stuck-up gang. So,
this works pretty well. My son loves Tiny Titans, so this was one that we read together. But it's funny because they do some pretty funny things where like Beast Boy is trying to find the actual cats in Josie and the Pussycats, and of course. But the best bit was the Archie's teacher's name is Mrs. Grundy. And so that when the Teen Titans go to that school, they're like,
Grundy.
Yeah, they're like, Grundy, do you know Solomon Grundy? And she's like, no. And they're like, well, maybe, and they're talking amongst themselves, and they're like, well, maybe he uses another name. Maybe he's tricking her. Maybe he goes by Steve. And they just kind of drop it. And then like many pages later, there's another class, and there's a knock at the door, and it's Solomon Grundy with the sack lunch, and he's like, here you are, dear. And she's like, thank you, Steve, and closes the door, and that's it. It was so funny. I love the setup and the payoff were just right. So that was a good batch.
All right.
You got anything else? Or you want me to tell you my final Archie comic here?
No, I also read. I meant to talk about this last week. So this is collected in the New Mutants I'm reading right now. The what's the full title? It's New Mutants Classic 3. Yeah, New Mutants Classic 3 is this one. And so it's two storylines. There's the Demon Bear saga, and then there's the Warlock saga story that I haven't started yet. So the Demon Bear saga, and this issue, the artist is Bill Sienkiewicz. I'm probably saying that. Sienkiewicz. He's the artist that when people talk about like classic New Mutants, that they tend to talk about like this is when New Mutants got good. I think is for them.
Okay.
Well, you've read the New Mutants prior to this, where it was like kind of standard superhero art.
Yeah.
The art, like I've heard things about this art, and I like the cover is very moody and everything, and I'm like, okay, sure, this is a cool cover. I was not prepared for like how cool the art was going to be inside. There was some scenes in space where like it was all this yellow and against like the black space, and it was just like it was so dynamic. And like when the Demon Bear shows up in this hospital, this moody story where Danielle Moonstar, she goes and tries to deal with the Demon Bear herself out in the snow, and like that's already kind of moody. But because of what happens, she ends up getting injured, and they have to take her into surgery. And so like the New Mutants are hanging out in this ER while there's like a snowstorm going outside, and the Demon Bear is like showing up and attacking some of the hospital staff. It's very movie. It's very moody. It's kind of like this horror vibe, very claustrophobic, a bit of like John Carpenter's The Thing going on here. And the art is like ridiculous. Like the Demon Bear is just this shadow monster that's all red eyes and teeth. Yeah, the art really picked up stuff. I don't know if like Claremont was like, oh, he's got a crazy style of art, let's work to that, or if he had always planned this like kind of crazy story. It would not have been as good with the previous artist. I think that was Sal Buscema. I might be saying his name wrong too.
Oh, I think you're right about that. Yeah, I mean the art can make or break it.
Yeah,
definitely.
So Bill Sienkiewicz's art here is like he's definitely going for a style like to be abstract and moody and cool, and it was. So this was like 3 issues. The last issue has them in like the Demon Bear's realm, and that's very sunny. It's kind of like an uncolonized.
Demon Bear is just funny to me.
The Demon Bear is scary, man. I'm pretty sure the Demon Bear is going to be showing up in the New Mutants movie if that movie ever actually happens.
Oh, it won't. No.
But yeah, they end up in his like realm, and it's kind of like this uncolonized North America. So they're in it. The art is still kind of cool, but it's less moody because it's like these golden fields and there's sun and everything. But all the stuff prior, like in the ER, it's spooky stuff. So yeah, I dug this. So I'm looking forward to reading the like the Warlock stuff next.
Okay.
Yeah, I think I'm saying his name wrong. The machine, the techno machine person, techno organic creature. He was in one of the cartoons. I always forget if his name is because there's Douglock. I think his name is Warlock. Don't stop it.
I'm sorry, Douglock.
Douglock. Yeah. So that was those were like 3 issues from that New Mutants collection I read.
Okay.
Yeah, dug them.
My final today is an Archie comic, and I learned that you can get a 30-day sample trial of the Archie Unlimited app. So you can bet your boy's going to be sweeping through that.
Remember when I started reading stuff on Marvel Unlimited, and you're like, a lot of these like subscription companies are hoping you'll subscribe and forget and never use, so they can get their money from. And you were like, you're that Marvel didn't know what they were getting into when I signed up. Like Archie, forget about Art. I mean, this isn't like the biggest publisher in the world. They can't afford somebody like you. They're looking for whales, people with money to burn and no services to render. But you're gonna. They want some corporate fat cat who's gonna be like, I'll get the Archie app and then never open it up. But boy, sir, we need to triple our bandwidth.
Who is this guy? Why does he keep reading?
Why are you reading so much Archie? Just buy the digest!
It's Betty and Veronica from the 70s. Nothing changes. Make him stop. Anyway, I first tackled Jughead's Time Police.
This is new,
by
though.
Cinna Grace and Derek Charm. This is a relatively new one.
And this was on the app?
Yeah.
Impressive.
Yeah. All but the very, very, like, there's a Betty and Veronica, a graphic novel original. It's like the first YA graphic novel original. Like, that came out in April. That's not on the app. But everything else from, like, recent, even the stuff post Archie and Sabrina that hasn't been collected yet, the single issues are there. So, yeah, it's a pretty expansive collection. And a lot is free. So if you're an Archie fan, I mean, you can sign up for the app and get a lot of stuff for free. I hadn't exhausted all the free stuff, but I wanted to read some of this new stuff. Anyway, I was a big fan. Yeah, I was a big fan of the Jughead ongoing series. It was by Ryan North and Chip Zdarsky. Right. Derek Charm did a lot of the art for the Archie books too. So this was one that I hadn't read and wanted to, because I'd read the classic Jughead Time Police. This was an ongoing thing. Time Police, right? That occasion. What?
I was just saying Jughead's in the Time Police.
Yeah.
But I was just saying it weird.
Sorry. I liked it. Oh, it was good. It was good. The old one's not super fun. It's just Jughead teams up with a descendant of Archie's, and they have a bit of a romance, which always seems kind of gross to me.
Like Archie's granddaughter?
Yeah.
Kind of thing?
Yeah.
So Jughead has a romance with Archie's granddaughter. But it's the future granddaughter.
Yeah.
So it's age appropriate.
Exactly. Yes.
Yeah, well, they're not related.
They're not related, but it's still strange. If you and I were just a couple of single guys and you found out that I was going into the future and dating your granddaughter, wouldn't you be a little?
I'd be so mad. Yeah.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. So anyway.
And weirded out. It was like, just date me if that's what you're looking for.
What was fun about this is the old one was just strictly a time travel thing. This was more like Jughead into the Spider-Verse. There was it was like all versions of Jughead, including like the Cole Sprouse Riverdale Jughead was there, all like intense and broody,
constantly narrating on a typewriter.
Yes. And there was a whole thing where I sent you a picture. Do you remember the picture? I said no context, just remember this.
Oh yes.
Break. Do you have that to put up or no?
Oh, do I have the picture to put up? Yeah. No. Let's see. Oh wait, that's the. Oh, okay. It's like a Jack Kirby design Batman Archer who says "You're with me." Here, let's see if I can get that to show up.
But see, it's like he's basically Jughead's version of Cable, is who he is.
Yeah, sure.
Like
I get that Cable view. Yeah.
Yeah. So it cracked me up because he comes and he's all like hard and tough, and it's just Jughead. It's just like Jughead from the future, from like a dying Archie world. So it wasn't as like golden as I wanted it to be, but I really appreciated all the little like call outs to other media as well as like just taking in all the different like weird Jughead things that have happened. So that was a good time.
Sounds like a goofy. Hey, do you want to talk about that Batman book? I mean, it's a kid's book, but I saw you didn't give it a lot of stars. So does that mean your kid didn't like it?
No, neither one of us did. But yeah, I'll talk about it. So yeah, in the library that I work in, we have this series of junior novels, and there's a Marvel series and there's a DC series. And the Marvel series I've read to my son before, and they're on the same level. Right. And that does a really good job of making interesting designs on the pages. So if it's like a big, like a Captain America is throwing his shield or something like that. It'll be a big, colorful, like word art sort of thing happening.
Yeah.
And there's a picture probably every 3 or 4 pages, something like that.
Yeah.
So every page is visually interesting, and every couple of pages is a full spread, like color picture.
Mm-hmm.
So I read that to my son even maybe like a year or two ago when he was even a little younger,
Right.
and he was into that one. He was interested in it. I picked up this Batman one called The Dark Knight, Batman versus the Penguin, written by Laurie S. Sutton. And it is a team up between Batman and Aquaman when Penguin gets his sub. So it's kind of a callback to the Adam West movie.
Mm-hmm.
And it was just dead boring.
Yeah.
It was just like nothing really happened in it. And Batman didn't talk or act like Batman at all. Like the way he was like, I don't know, like quippy with the Penguin was just very strange. There was hardly any pictures in it. There was probably 5 pictures in the whole book, and there was occasional word art, but it would just be like blue. All the sound effects, like if Batman throws the batarang or whatever, it would be like ping ping, and it would just be in blue. But that was it. So there was really nothing to break up the stuff, and the story was just so they go to a place where the Penguin is. They keep trying to get the Penguin and they can't. They eventually get the Penguin, and Aquaman leaves. And so there's like just nothing there. So yeah,
there's a whole bunch of these like DC style kids books. I think this is one of the newer ones. So I wonder if the older ones might be better than, like, maybe they were just trying to throw these out there. Because there's like Wonder Woman has a whole bunch, Green Lantern, Flash, Batman, Superman, and then the Justice League have a whole bunch. And they're like attractively designed, like even this cover.
They are.
But I mean, that's probably because they're using the old DC animated universe art style. But they, like, visually, they look cool. I guess I never looked through the old ones to see what the picture quoting is.
My son checked this one out for the library, and he also picked out a Wonder Woman one for his mom. And she read that one and liked it. Like, thought it was cool and thought that they were incorporating
and those
elements
are older
from the
ones.
Comics. Yeah. So I was expecting this to be good, and it just
I think the Batman ones have a different name. The older, like, there's older Batman ones as well.
Yeah.
So, maybe that's the thing.
Yeah. So that was kind of a letdown, but most of them I think are relatively good.
All right. I guess I got my Batman pick then.
Yeah, let's do it. We're talking Batman.
A couple of Batman books today. Yeah. So my rando Batman pick. It's not a deep cut at all. It's Whatever Happened to the Caped Crusader.
Oh, so, Neil Gaiman actually.
Yeah, Neil Gaiman and which Corbett brother is this? Andy Corbett. This is like 2 issues, but the trade is a very nice collection. I got it over here. You think I would have taken that out already? Huh?
I do think that, yeah.
Yeah. Ugh. Well, all right. So yeah, it's a very like quick read, and it's got some old issues in it if you get the like old Neil Gaiman stories in it. So like it's not even the full size of this graphic novel. It's like this much. Quick read. So I guess that makes it like 44 pages. You've read this, correct?
I have. Yep.
Yeah. So Batman, Whatever Happened to the Caped Crusader kind of came out of Grant Morrison's Death of Batman Rip storyline, where the whole thing was that Grant Morrison was going to kill off Batman during the whole final crisis, but really got sent back in time. But Neil Gaiman wrote this this funeral story for Batman that's kind of inspired by Whatever Happened to the Caped Crusader, but not really. Like, that's a very specific story of a specific version of Superman.
No, yeah, that's not called that. What's that called? Whatever Happened to...
Oh, I said Caped Crusader. Whatever Happened to the Man of Tomorrow.
Okay.
Which I also have. Whatever Happened to the Man of Tomorrow, which is a great Superman book. But Alan Moore was doing that.
Yeah, I love that.
That was Alan Moore giving that 50s Superman a send-off.
Yeah, like Silver Age Superman, really.
Doing that because the Crisis of Infinite Earths was coming along and changing things around. So he kind of gave Superman this, end story. And so what Neil Gaiman does in this is, I really like it, it's all these characters coming to Batman's funeral, and they're from all different versions of, DC universes. So they're all telling how Batman died in it, all these final Batman stories that are kind of sad and lonely and everything, and people are trying to wonder, and Batman's not there, he's kind of talking to death about it, so it's just his voice narrating, and the whole gist of it is that this is how all Batman stories are going to end. He's never going to stop fighting, he's never going to retire, he's never going to quit, so they're always going to end with him dying in action. and that's kind of the whole crux of this story. That like, so there's a lot of like different stories going in here, and you see how certain characters respond to Batman's death, but the message is Batman will never quit. So whereas like Superman Man of Tomorrow has kind of like this nice goodbye ending, this is kind of like all last Batman stories are going to end in his death. But also
or maybe he'll go to a cafe with Catwoman and run into Alfred.
You know what?
Maybe. I don't know.
I don't think I've done it too much here. I'm a softie when it comes to this kind of stuff. Like on the X-Men, previously on X-Men, I'm constantly talking about how I tear up or choke up during X-Men stories. But Batman stories get me too. And this one, it got me. This isn't really a spoiler because it's not really that kind of story. But at the end, like Batman is kind of like looking at this book of his Batcave and his life, and he's saying it's basically Good Night Moon. And he's like, good night house, good night Batcave, good night mechanical dinosaur. He's saying good night to all the characters, and then good night oversized Penny. And something about this like good night thing with Batman, it got me. I remember reading that and getting kind of choked up, even though like the character wasn't really dead.
Right.
It was still just this kind of like goodbye to all these things we love about Batman. And Neil Gaiman, he got me. But he got me before again when I read his Sandman Requiem, or the whatever the one is called where he came back, Sandman Overture, and like there's just a scene there between Sandman and his parents and everything. I'm like, oh, just these little moments. So anyways, not like an action-packed Batman story.
Yeah, it's a somber kind of story.
But the art's very nice. Andy Kubert always does great work. So what's your quarter bin today?
Oh, I'm excited to get to this one. I just want to mention too, if you're a podcast episode listener and you want to go find the All the Book Show, Eric and I do a whole episode on Neil Gaiman where we talk about both of the things he just mentioned and a lot more. So you can find that at soundcloud.com.
We did a whole Batman episode.
Or wherever you get your podcasts. Yeah, we have lots of comic book interviews with authors. What were we saying?
We did the Batman one for Batman v Superman. What did we call it? Batman v All the Books?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. And then it was All the Books v Superman.
Yes.
Yes, all right.
Yep.
Where we each picked our 5 favorite Batman stories.
Yes. Yeah. And one of my favorite Superman stories was one written by Elliot S. Maggin, who a few years later we actually got to interview and talk about that issue. So go find the All the Book Show. Yeah. Right now, we're diving into my past, Eric.
In your quarter bin.
Into my quarter bin. So what we're doing here is, when I was a kid, I would go to the comic book store and I would, usually it was like 33 cents each or 4 for $1. So I would take a couple of bucks and I would get like as many things as I could. A lot of Silver Age, a lot of random stuff. So it ended up that I just had a lot of weird stuff, a lot of partial series and that sort of thing.
Was this stuff that you were picking issue by issue for $4 or were these like packed in a bag? And you
issue by issue.
Okay, so this wasn't like one of those wild mystery bags.
No, but when dollar stores first started becoming a thing, they used to do mystery bags of comic books, and I do definitely have some that came from
got a lot of like really weird early 90s stuff in there. Like, do you like XO Man of War issue 7? Good news.
Well, that's where I got some Englehart Fantastic Four. I remember that specifically. I got some FF that way.
So what's your quarter bin here?
Well, it is from the Archie line, but it is not an Archie character.
Go on.
It is Archie Adventure Series. TMNT presents April O'Neil, number 2. Why I would pick up number 2 and only number 2, I don't know.
Maybe number 1 wasn't there.
I'm sure that's true, but it just shows how much I've changed since then. Because now, to pick up a number 2,
So explain this to me. This isn't. Okay. This is Archie. It's not under the Ninja Turtles line that's being out at this time. Well, I guess this is 91.
Archie had the publication to Ninja Turtles comics at that time.
Ah.
Archie was publishing Ninja Turtles and Sonic the Hedgehog.
Yeah, I knew they were putting out Sonic the Hedgehog. I didn't realize they were putting out Ninja Turtles. Yeah, they had Turtles for not a super long time, but they did have it. And I actually don't have a ton of Ninja Turtles comics. In fact, this might be might be the only one. This might be the only one that I have, honestly. So this is April O'Neil, number 2, 1993. It's kind of got a manga style on the cover too. April O'Neil seems very like manga influenced with her hair.
I was going to say she's got kind of a Little Mermaid vibe going.
Yes, that's it. She's got an Ariel vibe. She's
got the big like swoop bang and the
yes. Oh my gosh, she looks just like Ariel. That's ridiculous.
I know. Anyway, this story is... I looked it up because I had no idea if this was an ongoing series or anything like that. Archie put out 2 3-issue April O'Neil miniseries. This is part of the first miniseries.
Well, at least you got the first miniseries, if not the first issue.
So this is called the Chinatown Connection. Keep in mind, I have no idea what's happening. It's 3 a.m. and April is with her camera operator, Oyuki Mamishi. They're investigating a potential story in Chinatown, and apparently April is unemployed. She's been fired.
But this is adult April?
Yeah, she's an adult.
I guess, like, everything I'm seeing and knowing it's an Archie thing, I thought this would be, like, a young teenage April O'Neil having, like, her first adventures.
No, this is when she's, like, she's, like, part of the Turtle Gang, but no Ninja Turtles characters appear in here.
Maybe issue 3.
Maybe the villains are, I don't know, but nobody I recognize. Anyway, they're investigating this story in Chinatown, and April's basically freelancing. And so Oyuki's got the camera, and April's looking for a story. They run into a man named Kato Lee, who's hitting on Oyuki a little bit. But then some members of the Golden Triangle gang show up, and Kato's like, oh, I gotta get out of here. So he flees. April sees them coming and wants to, like, figure out what they're doing, so she sticks around. It looks like they're going to hit up this restaurant, but a rival gang called the Dog Stars joins, and is a big rumble in this Chinese restaurant. The shop is destroyed. Oyuki gets it all on film, and as the firefighters show up to put out the fire, they notice that there's a trail of sweet and sour sauce leading away from the restaurant, so they follow it into, you know where, Eric? The sewers. What? Into the sewers. Using skills that April learned from Master Splinter, she's able to track what's the gang called? I can't remember. Golden Triangle Gang. She's able to track the Golden Triangle Gang. So they walk right into the middle of an internal squabble with the Golden Triangle Gang. And April gets caught, but Oyuki runs back to the manhole to try to get help. Turns out that April has a past with one member of here, maybe from issue 1, maybe from the main Turtle series. I don't know. Wing Min is his name, and he owes her a favor. So she's like, well, you got to let me go. And he's like, well, it's not that easy, but I'll ask my boss, Johnny Yen. Meanwhile, Oyuki's made it back to the surface. She's trying to get help from the fire department who's putting out the restaurant fire, but they're like, get out of here. Meanwhile, Johnny Yen appears, but he sort of like travels through some realm and appears where they are. So I don't know if he's from like another dimension. It was not clear. But Johnny Yen shows up and he's like, hey, you're not going anywhere. So it looks like April's going to get killed. But Oyuki and Kato drop in with that rival gang, the Dog Stars. They're back. And April scrambles to get it all on film. So a big rumble ensues. And things are going fine. Then all of a sudden, Johnny Yen, the mystical villain who appeared from another realm, turns into a giant spider, but he still keeps a human head.
Oh, that's the worst.
I know. So he starts like shooting webs at people. It's getting out of hand. He gets a hold of Kato. He sinks his teeth into Kato. He captures Oyuki. April picks up a sword and is like, okay, let's do this. We're going to fight. She's waving it right in this like spider human hybrid man's face. And he threatens to, and this is a quote, suck the sweet marrow out of her heroic bones.
Sure.
So anyway.
Listen, if I was a spider monster villain, I guess bone marrow sucking is like, you know, what else do you got going on?
Yeah.
I'm a spider with a human head. Yeah. This is as good as it gets.
So it's all heading to a big rumble here. But then all of a sudden they're interrupted by this giant, like, hulked out, roid raging rat who encourages the fight. He's like, yeah, go ahead and do it so I can pick the bones of the victor. April recognizes that this giant rat man is named Chen Kan, and she's like, oh, we're going to fight about this.
So there's a rat man who's not Splinter and or the Rat King.
Wait a minute. You know what? Maybe he's a dog because the gang is called. He looks like a rat, but the gang is called the Dog Stars. So he's probably. I just think it'd be weird to have a giant rat with a gang called the Dog Stars.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
So yes, Chen Kan is probably then a giant dog man.
Okay.
He and April are gonna fight, but I don't know if they ever do. Maybe they get along because that's it. That's the end of it.
Did you read? So I'm looking at the things on this issue. Did you then also read that 6-page backup story?
No.
There is a little backup
story about like a little dog It's silent. There's no words in it. I flipped through it, but I was like, okay, whatever.
So I was wondering, like, this would be between the two Ninja Turtles movies, 2 and 3.
Oh, I guess so.
Because this came out in like the end of 92 and would have ended in 93.
Well,
Turtles 3 is March 93.
Oh, okay. All right. Well, I kind of wondered if it was trying, because I mean, for one, she's a reporter, which is unique to the '80s series. And then later, at least the first movie, she's a reporter.
Right.
But she's mentioning an attack in a subway, and I wondered if they were sort of linking it to that when April's attacked in the subway in the movie. I'm not sure. I'm not sure because I haven't read the rest of the series. And I checked to see if there was a collection out there, and I don't think these Archie stories are collected anywhere.
Listen,
So-
I take it back. I'm looking at some panels here.
Yeah.
The manga influence, I think, ends at the cover.
Okay.
The art is like, I don't see it in the.
It's a
the
little,
rest of it.
it is more Archie, I think, than typically
Bit Disney.
Turtle stuff is.
It does seem like a Disney influence. You're definitely
Yeah.
that
you're right.
Ariel thing is spot on. Especially some of these images I'm looking at. She's got like her whole facial structure. I wonder if he just had like the VHS cover on hand. It's like April looks like Ariel.
It kind of seems like it, but I did kind of like it.
Yeah,
it was fun. Yeah,
Listen,
the story was fun. Like if it was readily available, I would read the rest of it. Sure.
I am a sucker for these kind of covers. The hero with their back against the wall, spotlight kind of thing.
Yeah.
One of my favorite covers from Thunderbolts. It was it was like volume 2 or whatever when it came back. It's like 3 of the heroes all looking like they're beat up, surrounded by people, all backs to the brick wall.
Yep.
I love that. That stuff is some of my favorite cover art thing. And this cover, I think I would have seen this as a kid and be like, yes, I want to read
that's
that.
probably that's probably why I bought it, because like I said, I don't have a ton of Ninja Turtles comics. So
does April ever have a sword?
Yes, she does.
Okay.
And I can't. There must be something to it, because in the end, when Chen Kan comes, she does pull this sword, and it's got some kind of like magical powers to it, but that wasn't explained in this issue. So I don't know.
All right.
I don't know, but he's definitely a rat.
Sure.
No, he's not. I mean, he's definitely a dog.
Right.
He's definitely
a dog that. Yeah. Well, some breeds.
Yeah.
They're rat-like.
Yeah.
All right. We both said all right at the same time.
We sure did. That must mean it's the end of the show.
Yeah, that's the sign.
When we say something in tandem.
Yeah. We never ask each other anything like our favorite thing you've read this week. Did you have a favorite this thing?
I think that I was most interested in Naomi.
Okay. Cool.
It just set up an intriguing story, and I'm interested. I like that they're setting it out as season 1 and season 2, because it really had that kind of long form storytelling to it that I did. So probably. What about you?
I think I'd say I was most surprised by that Terminator comic. Like, I always know Usagi's going to be good, and New Mutants was cool, but that Terminator one kind of caught me off guard with that weird pulp feel.
I was intrigued. The whole 1950s angle I thought sounded interesting.
Well, it's still in the 80s. It's still set during the first movie. So
okay.
But anyway, that was the episode.
That's right.
Those are the comics we read this week.
Yep.
So again, this show is brought to you by Radio Meanwhile Network. You can find more about this show and others like it at the network's website, radiomeanwhile.com, where you can find past episodes if you feel like you need to know what we read the past 6 weeks. But also you can find past episodes of this on YouTube as well.
Yes, and we've been getting some fun comments on there, so we always appreciate the comments when people watch the episode and ask questions or add clarification sometimes. So keep it up. We like to read them.
I should say this every episode. I feel terrible having not done it every time. I get I get most, if not all, the covers from the Grand Comic Book Database.
Oh, okay.
Which is where
Handy.
I get my desktop art as well. But yeah, this is very helpful. All size. A lot of deep cut comics that Nick throws at me right now with these Jack Kirby reads and everything.
Yeah.
I'm happy to find the cover art there. So, all right, that's it. Anything else, Nick?
I don't think so.
All right.
See you next time.
Bye, everybody.